I get the feeling that the old EU, before Disney erased it from canon, the writers from those stories wanted to make sure that they felt connected to the movies that came out. Even the prequels weren't that great of movies in of themselves, but they did really good world building. They set up a good timeline with a distinct aesthetic to it and lots of new technologies and robots and a whole style. That was a good place to tell stories in, and I think people wanted more stories created. So what did the Disney trilogy add with their world building? Well, we got discount Luke Skywalker. We got discount Luke Skywalker. We got discount Han Solo. Discount Ewoks. Discount Yoda. We got discount Darth Vader. Discount Palpatine. And we also got discount Palpatine. We got the discount Empire, the discount Rebels, the discount Death Star, the discount Death Star, discount Hoth, discount Tatooine, discount Dagobah, discount Cloud City, discount Emperor's Throne Room, discount Emperor's Throne Room, discount Jar Jar Binks, discount R2, we definitely have discount 3PO, discount Boba Fett, discount Rancor, discount siblings kissing, discount incest, discount awkward incest, discount Salacious B. Crumb. Like, tell me one positive thing the sequel trilogy added as in world building that any writer would want to build on. I get the sense that all these writers are going to do the best they can to just stay away from this timeline. And I can see why, because there's a ton of shit ideas. So here's my list for the top 10 shit ideas new EU writers have to deal with. We're going to start off with Sith clone resurrections. How do they work? Why do they work? None of that was in the movie. So that's all now on the shoulders of the EU writers. They have to go in and find a reason why this happened, and they also have to find a reason why it can't happen again. Or else now Vader can come back, now Darth Maul can come back, now Darth Bane can come back. If we're starting to tell stories in the golden era of the Jedi, where I assume there's going to be Sith Lords left and right, why don't they have clone machines and Sith magic to bring them back to life? And then why just Sith? Why can't a Jedi do that too? Why can't a Jedi have some clone? That seems more in line with a Jedi's kind of techniques. Like a Sith would be more about destroying things and destroying life, and a Jedi would probably be more about creating life and maintaining life. And it's not going to be a satisfying explanation. You're going to know that they just came up with that to fix the problems in the movies. I really hate how the Star Wars EU has turned into, here's how we explain and untangle all the bullshit that the Disney trilogy made. So next on our list is, during the period of time between Episode 6 and Episode 9, Palpatine is on Exegol with an army of Death Star destroyers and an army of Sith cultists and an army of people commanding the Death Star destroyers and a bunch of clones of Darth Snoke. So I'm going to need a constant explanation when you tell a story between Return of the Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Why isn't Palpatine doing something with whatever event this is? Why aren't the Sith cultists involved in this story? What about all the materials and shipbuilding companies that were involved in sending them metal and engineers and stuff? I mean, like, this is a huge galaxy-wide event that would affect all kinds of things in the Star Wars galaxy. So I'm going to need that to be an important part of the story, or else you're making some bullshit up. I'm going to need to know what the hell happened with Darth Smeagol. He's a clone, but he's also seen the rise and fall of the Empire. Okay, so this even goes further back before Return of the Jedi. How many Darth Smeagols did Palpatine make? Why just Darth Smeagol? Why not just start creating an army of Force users? Writers need to come up with reasons for this if you're going to be working with new material in this period of time, because these are facts. Next, we've got Lightspeed Kamikaze. So they tried to retcon this in Rise of Skywalker, but fine. Okay, let's say it was 1 in a million. Does that mean it's not going to happen again? That little line didn't fix the fact that it happened and it worked. A single ship with lightspeed now has a chance to destroy an entire fleet. The Rise of Skywalker didn't even do a complete job of retconning that, because if this was really 1 in a million chance, why would Hux scream, "Destroy that ship right now!" like his life depended on it? So that retcon doesn't work. Lightspeed Kamikaze works. This affects all of Star Wars, because Star Wars has lightspeed throughout the entire timeline. Next, we have instantly force healing people after being mortally wounded. This has huge repercussions on everything of Star Wars, especially now that we're going back to the High Republic era. We're going to have Jedis and Sith and Force users there that are more powerful than we've ever seen, because this is the Golden Age, right? So anything that Rey and Kylo did, I'd imagine that these Golden Age Jedis would be able to do too. So every time a character in that show gets mortally wounded, you're gonna have to give me an explanation why these characters aren't respawning like this is a video game. You don't even need somebody to do that to somebody else. Give me a reason why Rey wouldn't be able to force heal herself. So now all these characters that they're going to make for the High Republic, they're going to need to be running around with a refilling health bar like this is Call of Duty. They're just going to hide behind a rock and just go and they'll be back after being blasted in the chest. And if they're not, they're ignoring their own continuity. Next, we've got Force Ghosts that can do anything. So we saw Luke grabbing the lightsaber. We saw him lifting up the X-Wing out of the water. We saw Yoda shooting lightning. We saw the Force Ghosts talking to Rey at the end of the movie, seemingly giving her the strength to get up and deal with the Emperor, who had Force sucked the shit out of her. In the High Republic, now we're going to have all these Force Ghosts running around. They're going to have to be able to do all kinds of shit. We're going to need a reason for why there aren't Force Ghosts everywhere, kicking ass and taking names. And this whole thing that Lucas tried to do in the prequels where Qui-Gon was the first Jedi to discover that you could be a Force Ghost, that got dropped in the Disney trilogy. Because everybody who died in that movie was able to become a Force Ghost, and none of them had that training. It doesn't even make sense with the original trilogy, because when did Vader get that training? Let's say Yoda taught it to him while he was a young kid, then why is he kicking Obi-Wan's robes on the floor and confused about how he disappeared? And why is Obi-Wan telling him, I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine, if he should really be saying, I'll become a Force Ghost just like Yoda taught you to become a Force Ghost? No, that don't make sense. That don't make sense right there. So even though Vader never got this training and doesn't know what a Force Ghost is, he was able to become one. And then everybody who died in the sequel trilogy, in the Disney trilogy, also knew how to be a Force Ghost. So it turns out that this is not something you learn. This is something inherited by just being a Jedi, as it was conceived of in the original trilogy. And that being the case, now we need a reason why these Force Ghosts aren't running around, kicking ass and taking names. So writers, have fun with that one. Let's take a look at this video I found where they asked Dave Filoni about this problem.
So Yoda learned how to go ghost from those Force spirits, and I'm guessing Obi-Wan learned from Yoda. Who taught Darth Vader?
Yeah, that's a big question I had for George, and I have an answer, but I'm not going to give it to you. Part of it definitely revolves around the fact, which I think is a critical change that he made that I actually like a lot, which is that Anakin after death is the young man that you knew. Anakin, when he appears in the Force, is the last moment that he was the good person that he very much wanted to be, the good person that we believed in. It doesn't make sense mythologically for him to maintain the guise of the old man afterward in the Force, because he was never good. He was never balanced when he was that person. He was the wicked old man. So he has to shed that skin like everything else.
So Dave Filoni thinks it's a great idea for young Darth Vader to be put in Return of the Jedi.
When you're into this type of stuff, you can go, as long as you talk long enough, it sounds like I answered you.
Next up, we've got dyads in the Force. Now, this is one of the biggest black holes that has nothing to do with anything that came before it, and it was all about J.J. Abrams just coming up with something to explain bullshit in The Last Jedi. I guess J.J. wanted a reason why Rey and Kylo could force Skype each other even after Snoke died. I mean, all you had to really do was say that Palpatine was the one doing it and not Darth Smeagol. Yeah, I'm not sure why they came up with that, actually. It's really stupid. So now with the Force, you can have two people that are one and they can teleport shit to each other. Where are the limits? Was it only teleporting? Was that the only thing a dyad? No, I'm sure there's more shit you could just add to it. Just keep adding to it. Why stop at a dyad? How about a triad or a quiad? It's not like they showed any restraint in the Disney trilogy. Why should the writers show any restraint now? Next up, we've got light speed tracking and light speed skipping. So I believe we found the whole thing about light. I don't remember. A feat not possible until the First Order used it against the Resistance and 34 BBY. They found it during Rogue One, and they didn't use it until 34 years later. Wait, but Jyn only found files about that study, so they had already been studying it for a while. Do you think that was the first time they used it? Like, they've been studying this for a long time. You're gonna have to come up with a reason, or actually use it, of why the Empire or the First Order is not using hyperspace tracking during the time of the Galactic Civil War to the time of the Disney trilogy. And then once you figure that out, and we finally do make stories with hyperspace tracking, now you got to figure out hyperspace skipping and why that makes sense, even though we know that the way light speed was explained to us in A New Hope, you need precise calculations to jump from one place to another. That was kind of a limitation set on purpose, that the moment you see a bad guy, you can't just like light speed away. So that those limits are gone now, so that they could make this stupid idea. You know why that really happened? Because they were making The Last Jedi, and they knew that they were going to use light speed tracking in that, and then they were also making Rogue One first, and they're like, hey, let's put a little nugget about light speed tracking here so that it can pop up again in The Last Jedi, and they'll think we have this like spider web of movie plots, even though it makes no sense because those two movies are separated by so long. So now they have to deal with this big gap in the timeline where hyperspace tracking kinda should exist. So next up, we got Force Powers Unleashed. Remember that video game, The Force Unleashed? Well, that game is kind of canon now with the way the Force works, based on the Disney trilogy. So you've got Force users stopping blaster bolts in midair. You've got Force users who have no training at all, learning the Force through osmosis, just by being next to each other. Wasn't that explained in a novel that Rey read Kylo Ren's mind and that's how she learned Force tricks? Well, now I'm gonna need an explanation, if you tell another story with Jedi, why they don't just read each other's mind to learn the Force and why they need to do actual Force training. I'm going to upload all of my Jedi knowledge to your head. You're a Jedi Master now, just like Rey. We've got to deal with people being able to force project each other across the galaxy to planets they've never even been to or heard of. We've got to deal with people being able to use the Force so powerfully that they fucking kill themselves. We've got to deal with Force suicide now. You've got to write Force suicide into your new stories, because it's canon. You've got to deal with people like Palpatine shooting enough Force lightning into the sky that they take out an entire fleet of spaceships. You've got to deal with Palpatine lifting his hands up and having an entire fleet of Star Destroyers being lifted out of the ice. At that point, the Force is unlimited. It's not unleashed, it's unlimited. What kind of story can you write with characters like this? This will go back to my old video, my X-Men video, where I go into how it's extremely hard for writers to write characters that have incredible abilities because you don't have challenges for them anymore. How are you going to walk this back? It's going to look like now you're making a low-budget, toned-down, neutered version of Star Wars in comparison. So next up, we've got The World Between Worlds. So this is basically time traveling in Star Wars. Why on earth did Star Wars need time travel? We already had the Force levels of the Jedi and the Sith getting exploded, and now you had to throw in time traveling with the Force. So here we got The World Between Worlds. So I guess this turned up in a season 4 episode of Rebels, which is a cartoon on the Cartoon Network, which I don't watch because I don't watch kids shows. I also don't watch the Ewok movies. The World Between Worlds, also known as Virgin Scatter and the Underworld of Unbeing. I feel like those were all names that a writer's room came up with and they threw darts at. It was a mystical plane within the Force that served as a collection of doors and pathways existing between time and space, linking all moments in time together. Apparently, George Lucas was consulted, and Dave Filoni, the savior of Star Wars, the guy that I keep hearing saying he's going to replace Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni decided that Star Wars needed time travel. So that's how great this guy's going to be for the future of Star Wars. Here's the best part. Minister somebody of the Galactic Empire believed that gaining access to the world between worlds would give one control of the universe. So this is what Dave Filoni has unleashed on the Star Wars canon. I mean, you've already made this an ability of the Force. The only thing stopping this from being a complete thing is like you need to walk through a portal, and I guess in the show this portal disappeared or it was buried or something. Who's to say that there's not another temple with a portal to the world between worlds? Or who's to say that somebody didn't study this enough in the Force and figure out a mobile way to get there, a way to just focus inward and get there with your mind's eye. You already set up the precedent that this is possible in the Force. Every time you do something in Star Wars, you're going to have to deal with the idea that if the fans don't like it, or if Disney doesn't like it, or if there's some sort of problem, your story can just be retconned using this time travel shit. So not only can you revive characters by just healing them or them healing themselves, but now you can time travel and revive them. This all seems very MCU-esque. Notice how the MCU characters just don't die, and now there's time travel in the MCU. Star Wars is like that too now. So you're going to tell me this random Ezra character found the world between worlds, and this isn't going to be a thing that is known about during the High Republic? I bet they're just going to ignore all of this. They're going to ignore all this ludicrous, insane bullshit. And it makes me mad, because I want them to reap what they sow. I want them to have to deal with all these terrible ideas that we basically told them not to do. So last, and definitely least on my list, is Broom Boy. Broom Boy exists in Star Wars canon, and there's nothing you can do about it. Broom Boy can't be stopped. You can't retcon Broom Boy. Star Wars juggles our authors left and right. Timothy Zahn is going to create Mara Jade, and then somebody else is going to kill them in another novel. Every time you make a story now during the Broom Boy era, you got to be watching behind your back, because somebody's going to write Broom Boy, turn him into a Sith Lord, and he's going to come out and shank your character, and you're going to be embarrassed. We need to get a Star Wars story of Darth Jar Jar versus Darth Broom Boy, and they're going to take over the galaxy together. That'll be what I want for the aftermath of The Rise of Skywalker. So that's the end of my list. Here, let's go ahead and look at what Disney is doing in the future of the EU. I found this website that lists the timeline of upcoming comics and novels that are coming out. Let's take a look at the timeline real quick. The Rebellion era. I guess they made a novel on the stupid monks in Rogue One. Here's the Disney trilogy timeline. So this is stuff they made when they still expected this to be a good trilogy that people would admire and want to read more content about. Oh no, is that a Han Solo novel? Oh, it's meta. Who shot first? I'll tell you who shot last. Oh, Poe Dameron. God damn, that art style looks really childish. They made a novel about Phasma. What a snooze fest. Terrible aliens from the Disney trilogy. Yeah, I'm sure that sold a lot. The Legends of Luke Skywalker, as told by Broom Boy. Oh man. Somebody should make a podcast about this book and just read it and laugh about the bullshit. There's gotta be a lot of empowering female messages here. Oh my god, they made a Canto Bight book. Who bought that? These names, they couldn't be more cringe if they tried. Spark of the Resistance. It's like they made all these things during the production of the movie before they realized everything in the movie was cringe. Here's the novel on the Disney park. Wow. Wait, it's called Black Spire, and then there's a black chick. I wonder if these novels are full of, like, propaganda to get you to go visit the park. And that's the end of the timeline. So there's nothing set after The Rise of Skywalker. Wow. So let's go over to the releases. So these are the upcoming novels and comics. Let's see if there's anything coming out set during or after the Disney trilogy. Nope. 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 Clone Wars, Mandalorian. Something with Bucky O'Hare. Darth Vader, Clone Wars, Darth Vader. None of this shit is Disney trilogy. Wait a minute. That's the cringy sister. So it looks like we got one with the cringy sister from Last Jedi. Oh, there's another one. So we got 2. 3. We got another one with the sister. And this doesn't count because this is the movie. Age of Resistance. So they're re-releasing some Legend stuff? Wow, that's an admission that you're failing. Not seeing much from the Disney trilogy here. Yeah, this is really embarrassing after having gone through the whole let the past die thing. It's like, way to walk that back. Oh, so these have released recently. Poe Dameron, so 1 out of 10 is Disney trilogy. Wait a minute. What's Darth Vader doing there? These aren't Disney trilogy. I take that back. None of this Dr. Aphra stuff are about Rose's sister. So take away half the shit I noticed. How is that not Rose's sister? That's her. Apparently this is not Rose's sister at all, and this doesn't take place during the Disney trilogy. Surprise, surprise. Thanks for sticking around for this video. It was really fun to talk about these problems with the EU. It's always fun to shit on Disney's Star Wars. It's all going to be erased soon. Just hang in there.